where the fun begins.
Hello, and welcome. We begin tonight's meeting of the Council by calling the Council to order. Hello to everyone, and thank you for joining us. The Council is a live Twitch talk show and podcast discussing Star Wars: The Old Republic. I'm Elise, and with me are my fellow Council members. Redna.
Elise.
Sakari.
Elise.
Match case.
I am not doing that.
Oh, come on.
I was waiting for, I'm going to do what I want.
Dang it. We tried so hard.
Listen, I know I'm pure Imperial, but that's also rebellious, okay? I'm a rebel, sorry. Anyways, Elise, you were saying.
Tonight, we are going to talk about the challenges of being a content creator or a streamer or a YouTube maker, video maker, or a blogger.
Yes, indeed. So before we go on, I just want to apologize profusely for the graphic that I just blatantly stole off of Twitter. It is the SWTOR Unite graphic from, I think, Marcus of Working Class Nurse and Dr. SWTOR from Utinicast are putting together some kind of event with all of the SWTOR podcasts.
Not that we know anything at all about that. Yeah. Nothing.
There's a lot of work to do. It's what it looks like to me. I don't envy them. But anyway, yeah, so I thought we were talking about content producers. I was thinking, let's find a graphic for content producers and something to do with SWTOR. And I was like, ooh, I could just steal Marcus's. So thank you, bud. Thanks for making our show graphic tonight. We are terrible people. Oh, my God. Magic, over to you.
Yes, but that's free advertising. So
I'm not terrible. Yes. I'm a horrible person because I prefer Scritchy. Thank you very much.
Scritchy. Goodness.
Anyways, you can find us after this live broadcast anywhere our recorded episodes are found, including but not limited to facebook.com/CouncilSWTOR. We also have Twitter, which is at the Council SWTOR. We have the CouncilSWTOR.com, which is our website, and we also have patreon.com/CouncilSWTOR. If you're feeling frisky and or lazy and don't want to do any of that stuff, you can generally use any browser that you have and just type in the Council SWTOR. We're there. You can find us. We also have individual Twitters for that.
We don't want to know if you're feeling frisky. Just keep it to yourself.
I didn't say please inform us. I did not say please inform us.
Stay off of all of our social media. Keep your friskiness to yourself.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Okay, so we're going to do some different things tonight. It's quite a different angle on some things. We'll unpack it as we go. But as you know, this part of the discussion is the icebreaker. It's where we just ask a surface level kind of question just to start. But if you know us, there's nothing surface level. We tend to dig very deeply. So that's what we're going to do now. The topic, as was stated, was that we are talking about content producing and what it's like to a content producer and the challenges and basically a day in the life. So kind of an angle on that is what I'm going to ask in the question for the icebreaker to my three co-hosts. And I'm going to sit this one out. But I'm going to ask them, if you were each individually a SWTOR influencer, would you be concerned about the perception of some in the community that influencers are quote-unquote bought and paid for?
You think you're going to sit this one out.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get sucked in. But would you be concerned, if you were an influencer, would you be concerned about the community perception that you are a BioWare cheerleader and that you just talk up their game because they give you perks? All right. Magic, I'm going to start with you.
I'm glad you started with me because I have a few things to say. 3 things. 1, I do/don't care about what people think because I do care on the basis of I don't want people to think like I'm an axe murderer type thing, but I don't care on the premise of I'm going to do what I'm going to do. If somebody is thinking that I'm bought or paid for, or that a fellow influencer or anybody else, not that I'm an influencer, not an influencer, is bought and paid for, I'm of the opinion of that's their business, not yours. If you want someone that is not bought and paid for, then go somewhere else and get their opinion. As far as being a cheerleader, I have never been a cheerleader for like anything except for maybe coffee. So
She's a cheerleader for coffee. I'm sorry, but she is a cheerleader for coffee.
Elise is in my Discord. She knows all my cheerleading. so, I personally, I'm not worried about it just because like most of the people that are like really, really into this game probably don't even watch this stuff, like influencer stuff. I feel like most of the time when I see people involved in influencers, and I could be wrong, this is my perception because I'm one of those people who doesn't pay a whole lot of attention to the social media things and the stuff. I don't think they really care. I don't think they're really paying attention. I think they're so busy playing the game. They're not busy watching the like social game, so to speak, of it. So personally, I'm not worried about it. If someone else is worried about it, that's fine. That doesn't negate that they're worried about it. Just me personally, no, I'm not worried about it. Magic Baby isn't either.
Redna, give us your dulcet tones, my friend. If you were an influencer, would you care about the perception?
He answered.
So much for contrary.
Oh, moving right along.
With one word, no.
I don't care what other people think. And if I got goodies, I would be thrilled and probably cheerleading, saying, dude, guys, look what they gave me. And here, look what I can give you because they gave me stuff. Because, yeah, I mean, who cares? Who cares if somebody thinks that I'm bought and paid for? Honestly, I'm pretty sure that anybody that knows me in any way, shape, or form knows that I don't moderate my opinions one iota for anyone.
I would be
whether
like,
or not they pay me.
I would be like, I know things you don't know, and that's enough for me. Yes.
Yeah.
I just like the knowledge. I just want, maybe that's my Sith side, is I want all the knowledge. I don't care that you guys don't have it. I want it.
Take it to the
That's
grave.
all I care about. Yes, I just want to know that I have it.
Yeah, signing those NDAs or whatever, because I'm actually not a gossip. I really enjoy knowing things, and I actually derive pleasure from knowing things that I can't share with others, because I just like being on the inside. It's kind of like I like being in a position where people are comfortable or, are confident in knowing that I won't tell anybody, because I do like being told. But yeah, I think
to the dark side, my friend.
I am confident, even though I am not an influencer, that there are people that think that I am bought and paid for in some way, shape, and I still don't care.
Right.
I've had people say negative things about me that was not even close to accurate, and like I've had people literally sit in my Twitch streams and troll my NIM healing, like having 13k heals and another 3k DPS, and people are trolling me that I'm a terrible healer. So I'm like, I'm not here for you. It doesn't matter. So if people didn't like me as an influencer, I'd still be like, I'm not here for you. It doesn't matter.
And just wait until we get into I'm going to remember your name and wait until we get into a group in some...
Oh boy. Yeah, you're going to start calling my name and I'm going to be like,
yes, the number one rule is do not piss off things.
It's not like I control your life or anything.
Right. All right.
So Elise.
Dare I ask Elise what she thinks?
She looks like she cares so much.
She waited very patiently.
I just wait patiently.
You do, but I happen to know this time you have something for it.
Yeah, I have lots of stuff on here. So I just wanted to see. I'm going to poll my fellow council members. What do you guys think the actual purpose of influencer marketing is?
To capitalize on their popularity and get yourself
out there. And then I will
there.
answer the question.
From whose perspective?
Exactly. Very good.
Did I see through it? Really?
Yeah.
That's not fair. You're supposed to be sitting this one out. I told you weren't sitting it out. Fail.
Hey, Elise, from whose perspective?
Thank you.
From the business.
Sell out your
From the business who is making you an influencer. So in this case, it would be SWTOR. Because SWTOR really is its own entity. It really is not BioWare.
As a product of BioWare. Yeah, agreed.
They're their own kind of fiefdom. So yes, Star Wars: The Old Republic. What's the purpose of being an influencer? Is the question. So, if you know the answer to that question, that's pretty much my answer of if I would be concerned about the perception of the community feeling that I was bought and paid for. there's a reason why they do influencers, and it's not to bring the community's opinions to BioWare. That is a side benefit. That is not why they do it. It is for the person who has a community to market the game.
It's free marketing,
So
basically.
to capitalize on
That
someone's
is
popularity.
correct. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, that might be one way they do it. There are multiples, but they want you to influence your community to buy the thing,
Yeah.
play the game, participate, whatever.
Every
This-
single
this
time
is
I
an
stream,
interesting-
someone's like, "Do you think I should
So-
sub again? Do you think I should come back
Right.
and play?" I'm like, "Well, I'm super biased, so asking
mean-
me is pretty much saying yes." But
Right. I mean, and the word influencer, the whole thing is influencer marketing. That's like everybody just cuts off the marketing part. So you really can't be concerned if you're going to be an influencer, basically is my point. Because you don't have to be an influencer to be a content creator for a game.
Absolutely.
You can do that without being an influencer.
You could argue that
So-
you're supposed to be the influencer, so stop being influenced by others, numbnuts.
I mean, you could take that perspective, I guess, but that completely defeats the whole idea of it being marketing. But that is the purpose of influencer marketing. So
Yes.
if I were an influencer, I couldn't possibly be upset about people thinking that I'm bought and paid for because
You are.
you
I
kind of
am.
Right.
I mean, at the heart of it, I mean, and that doesn't mean that you can't have an opinion, you
Yes,
can't
sorry.
criticize, but you are still, you agreed to be part of that program, and that is the goal of influencers. So,
Sure.
and I included some links about like definition of influencer marketing. from
Right.
marketers and blah,
Just to
blah.
make sure everybody knows, we are going to have those in the show notes. So do check out the council SWTOR.com sometime later in the week, and we will have the links in the show notes. There is, by the way, this is one of the. Let me just plug Patreon real quick. We shared a stack of articles this week to Patreon, so all our patrons are sure up to their ears in all of the different things that have been driving this discussion. So a lot to it.
And I have a couple more I could add too, but
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We do want to before Elise, you say one more thing because you look like you're. there's something to me.
I was just going to say the second article, if you get a
Okay.
chance to look at it, the second article actually talks about how they go about it, and it's pretty kind of brutal, where they're like evaluating one person versus another, whether or not you're going to offer them an influencer position, and they're going at how many clicks and how many views and blah blah blah, and they're using that to kind of, you know,
Right. It boils down to
which is
metrics.
part of the reason.
to weed out who they're going to do it. I don't think that is so much what SWTOR is doing, although they might be doing it to a point. So
That's part of the reason why I'll never even try, because I'm mom number one. I can't like commit to a set schedule when my kid may wake up an hour early the next time or may not take a nap, and so it's like I can't be consistent to get those kind of clicks and numbers and stuff.
Right.
So that's it. All right, please continue.
Okay, so
Not to mention, I'm just not that interesting.
you're magic. You're always interesting. You always have something interesting.
I'm a
going on.
different type of interesting.
So we do want to be careful this episode to stay away. I know we've kind of started right out of the gate with influencer. This episode is not about influencers. It's not something we want to go into. Although there is a formalization, I think, at some point between the content producer and the company making a game that they are making content for. If in any way the company decides, hey, we're going to recognize this person, we're going to help them out, you get the crystallization of that, or the formalization maybe of that relation. So that does happen in that sense, quote unquote influencer. That's where it comes into it. But we kind of want to stay away from an episode about influencers, because influencers, we had an episode on way back in the start. I think probably within the first couple, 3-4 episodes go back and see them. That's on our website. You can see it on the podcast. It's available everywhere.
I thought it was a very good episode, by the way, not to just pitch us, but
It was a good discussion. Yeah, it
that was a good discussion.
absolutely. I mean, we'll angle it that way. But yeah, definitely want to throw that out there. Just to answer my own question, since you guys said I'd be roped in, why not? I kind of want to. I don't care. I am an influencer because I really got in on the gotten on the coattails of some other better influencers, and I'm in the program. But in all honesty, I've not experienced anybody accusing me of that. Here I am on the council where we are. I would like to think of us as one of the more harder hitting. We are not afraid to go there. How about I say that? We go there, and if there's some negative news to deal with, we do it. So I am not at all in any way concerned about people thinking that I am a cheerleader for BioWare, that I'm always going to say yes, because I have discussed this game's shortcomings many a time. So that's my answer to that.
What? There's no shortcomings. It's working as intended.
There
How
are no
dare
bugs
you.
here, indeed.
How
Yes.
dare you, good sir?
Yes. All right. So there are some content producers for our game, and we took a new angle this week on the poll. Elise, you want to take us into that?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I scrolled down. Uno momento. Okay. Out of the options below. Okay, so this was posed to content creators. Yes. Out of the options below, which represents the most challenging aspect of being an officially recognized BioWare content producer? Very nicely worded there, Sakari.
Yeah. Well, thank
Comments
you.
were
It's not on the screen.
encouraged.
Just heads up, it's not on the screen. Give me a second to get this fixed. For some reason, it's glitching out of last week.
Okay.
Go ahead. Feel free to read
okay.
them. I'll flash them in a minute.
Again, I said comments were encouraged. Okay. So choice number 1 is salty, crazy, or abusive fans. Number 2, time and effort required producing content. And in parentheses was avoiding burnout. 3, work-life balance, finding time to produce content in parentheses. That was 3, right? 4, coming up with new content ideas. Number 5, securing BioWare exclusives and or teaser information. Number 6, financial costs involved with hosting content. I thought that was a great one. And number 7, slow or slower than expected uptake with fans.
I'm going to leave the options on screen just for a second or two longer because I managed to get that fixed. So
That's fine.
salty,
So I can
creative,
make
or
silly
abusive
faces and no one will
fans.
know.
Yes, indeed. That's why we do this. Gives you time to make up or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Second one, time and effort required producing content.
Hey, I already did
third,
that.
I know. Work-life balance. I'm buying some time here. Dang it.
It's not good enough. Thank you.
Clearly not.
Coming up with new ideas, securing BioWare exclusives, financial costs, and of course, slower than expected uptake with.
I even read it Vanna White style.
You did. Oh, Vanna White style. That's.
Okay, but did you have the whole?
Who's that?
What? I know you're trolling me. Totally.
Oh my goodness.
It took her just like a split second to look
I'm
at
like,
you
I
and be
know
like,
I'm older than you, but I'm not that much older than you.
Okay, so I am going to invite our audience, who are watching live with us right now. Feel free to answer that in chat. But put yourself in the shoes of someone who would be a content creator for this game, a YouTube video maker, or a Twitch streamer, or a podcaster, or what as often happens,
Blogger,
some combination. Yeah,
Instagrammer.
Yep, absolutely. Some combination thereof. That happens a lot too. If you were one of those people, which of those would probably turn out to be your greatest challenge? I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Now, this is a question that we actually asked of SWTOR content creators, whoever they happen to be. Okay? And there was a few people that answered this, and at least you want to go into how they answered?
You mean the results or the comments? What? I'm sorry. What are you going for there?
Let's talk about the results, and then we'll unpack with the comments.
Oh,
a little
okay.
later.
We're not going to wait for chat to answer.
Oh, they can
No
answer as
chat
we
this
go,
week?
I guess.
Okay.
yeah, because
Okay.
it's
So-
not everybody may not want to answer with how long that is.
Okay. So the results. So the results that we got back, number 1 was work-life balance, with 7 votes. Number 2 was securing BioWare exclusives and or teaser information, with 3 votes. Number 3 was salty, crazy, and or abusive fans. I am shocked that was number 3, with 1 vote.
Are you showing the right graphics, Sakari?
No, goodness, hang on.
I'm
I don't know. I did this all before
I
that.
see bars.
There we go. Oh no. Hold on.
So do I have to do it again?
Yes.
Technical difficulties,
What is-
excuse us.
Like I might as well not even bother before the show because. Hang on.
Why? I'm reading it if you haven't.
Hey, well, last week it was Ossis that won. In case anybody was wondering. Okay.
Oh, that's right. We didn't say.
Yes. Yeah.
So you have to tune in multiple weeks to be able to get answers to some of our polls.
There we go. My goodness. Okay.
Okay, so again, work-life balance was number 1, as you can see on the screen. Number 2 was securing BioWare exclusives and or teaser information. Number 3 was salty, crazy, and or abusive fans. Well, actually, there was a tie between that and time and effort required producing content and avoiding burnout with 1 vote apiece. No votes for coming up with new content ideas. I don't know why. That would seem to me to be a challenge as you got within a more elder game. Financial costs involved with hosting content was that?
For new content, all you got to do is just change the graphic and say you're going to talk about something different, and then just keep playing the same like classes and stuff that you were doing. Just talk about something different. There you go.
You think that's all I had to do? Financial costs involved with hosting content as a content creator on another one where I actually pay for, and Redna maybe can speak to that too. I find that sometimes something I have to think about, like paying for my subscription for, Podbeam, and when we're debating on do we put up a website and domain hosting and blah blah blah, and then slow or slower than expected uptake with fans also got no votes. Again,
Right.
Shocked.
Okay.
Okay.
I answered this and said I was the 1 vote for burnout. So there you go. Nobody else did burnout. That's very interesting that everyone else seems to have this ongoing power. But yeah, I'm in 2 podcasts and I'm a streamer. And so what's actually paid the price is my streaming life lately. I haven't streamed anywhere near as much as I used to. And I've had a couple people going, hey, why aren't you streaming anymore? Well, that's why. For the most part, I'm trying to make sure that I have the between work and between kids and between everything, make sure that I have the mental energy just to get through a work week. So that is by far my challenge. Yes, I'm amazed that crazy fans didn't become a thing, and maybe that's because we can block people. We discussed that some previously, but the ability to protect your brand by kicking people out that are problematic or that are disruptive. Useful tool. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I mean, I can't really speak to that, being that my stuff really doesn't, since I'm primarily a podcaster.
Right.
A streamer, I don't really.
How nice! You don't have anything live to deal with.
I mean, if somebody puts a crazy comment on there, I could just roll my eyes and move on. So.
You're like, geez, how dare you take time out of your day to be crazy and weird? To me, I'm
a stupid comment.
Please, the easiest part of streaming when people are crazy is you just have to hit the little timeout button. It's like literally a lifesaver. If you're talking and they're literally being like the worst they can be and as toxic as possible, that little boop timeout button, it's gorgeous. I love it. Use it.
So
work-life
balance.
one night.
I guess in a lot of ways, the thing that confuses me the most is like the number 1 vote for work-life balance, finding time to produce content. I'm not sure how that has any bearing on being recognized by BioWare. That seems like more of a concern of a content producer. But what's that got to do with, like, is it harder to balance your work life because BioWare has recognized you? Like, I don't.
It has
I'm not
nothing to
making
do
a
with
connection.
BioWare. Nothing to do with BioWare. Well, so the group of
because the
people,
question was the most challenging aspect of being an officially recognized BioWare content producer.
Right.
So if it has nothing to do with BioWare, then it has nothing to do with the question.
But I think
No, that's true.
work-life balance is going to affect it whether or not you're officially recognized BioWare content creator.
that's true.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean,
Which I agree.
it's still going to affect them. I mean,
regardless of being an influencer, that is actually the hardest thing because it is essentially time taken away from your loved ones. If you're married, if you've got kids, that it makes it that much harder. for sure, to figure out that balance.
Or you don't get to play the game because you're making crap.
Right.
Right.
Not spending the time playing the game.
You've been on the
So-
PTS getting footage, you know?
Oh, dude,
Right.
that actually has happened to me before, where it's like, man, I just spent a whole month on the PTS, and look, now I log into the real game, and none of it has any value other than what I've created.
Right. So then, one thing I find is interesting next is securing exclusives and or teaser information. Obviously, if you are a content creator, to see if you can get a little bit behind the scenes, learn about what's coming out before other people can learn. And this is kind of a counterpoint to what I think Magic was saying earlier. She just wants to know, right? Fair enough. I get it. But
yeah,
there are people
I have
that
a power trip issue, and I'm aware of this. I just want to know all the things that the rest of you aren't supposed to know. I'm good
a
with that.
strong Sith you will be. No, but there are content, generally speaking, content producers want to get in behind the scenes to know what's coming so that they can get prepared with teaser materials and with, hey, you know, this is coming out, drum up excitement with their audience. And I think for a content producer, I would be pretty, I would want a symbiotic relationship, right, with the studio. I would want extra information from them, give me exclusives, give me interviews, and then that helps my content because I have an exclusive interview or I have teaser information or sneak peeks of things. So people come. There, and at least this is kind of to your point earlier. If that symbiotic relationship exists, then yes, they are using me for the free advertising. I agree, but I am also using them because they are helping me build my channel, which is really, and that's really how it's supposed to be. I think is a mutual benefit relationship.
Right. The only bad thing with that is, I know everybody wants that, but it can very much be a double-edged sword. So, take for example, okay, I'm going to use this from a different, well, no, okay. So, in the Fortnite community, there was an article that came out, I think like last week. I don't know if you read it, but this streamer named Myth, I think he either was a pro player or he was a streamer, or he retired, but he's like 19 and he is getting like trolled. He's getting a lot of toxic people in his stream, and he basically has been complaining about that happening.
Need more moderators, bud.
So
mods.
So I was reading this
I
article.
have one moderator.
I was reading this article, and one of the points that the author was making was that this streamer is 19, and that there are probably 19-year-old kids in his thing that basically are like, why is he getting all this attention? Why is he doing that? I could be like him. And so that kind of separation of, oh,
jealousy.
He's special. He gets all this stuff. What makes him so awesome? You can get to that. Well, why are you entitled to have no stuff? I pay for my sub. I play the game. Why can't I get that same thing too? So
Because you're not marketable, good sir.
And you're not good enough,
saying,
and you can't pull it off, you loser. So quit trolling this guy.
No, but I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I really think you need to be careful with that, because you don't want to turn off your audience. It's abusable. So, you know, having those exclusive and driving people to your channel is great, but also you need to make sure that what you're offering back to your community is of value.
Exactly. So, well, I think.
Hey, I find it valuable when they spend their cartel coins on me. Okay, I find that very valuable. I'm good with that. I've had Volt,
well, that's for
Teresa,
you.
Kidley, Sakari, Redna. I've got cartel coins from all you guys. I'm like, hey, I'm good with that. It's fine. Thank you.
I feel so used.
Just a little bit.
No, but I mean,
it's the best way to build viewership is to bribe my viewers. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, you're like giveaway,
yeah.
and suddenly 30 extra people that are normally not in your stream are there, and you're like, well, hey, people, and then they never come back.
That's right.
Now, that's
so let's talk about that, because that's the other aspect. Your viewers are using you for the free giveaways, for the free stuff, and you are using them for the higher ratings, right? Essentially, the more people watching your show, If I'm just some casual person looking on Twitch, for instance, hey, what channel should I look at? I'm looking in the SWTOR streamers currently live. The one that's the highest is usually the one I kind of look at. What's the big deal? What is the excitement?
I look
here?
for like a middle one because usually the one with the like highest views has the people in it that I don't like to associate with.
Right.
So I get the next popular people like down a little bit.
But I do think there's a very complex network of mutually beneficial relationships here, and so that's what I guess the point I'm trying to make between every one of the parties in this thing, the company and the content producer and the content consumer. Everybody is helping each other out if the relationship is right. When something is out of balance, I think that's when the darker side of this shows up, as in Magic Ace's point.
Just a little bit.
At least to any of the comments from the people that we polled stand out to you in this? Because I know that you wanted to go into that here in a second.
One of the big ones I already mentioned, the financial costs involved. One of the commenters spoke about that and being able to have a Patreon and being able to do more with their content, be able to push the edge of their content a little bit further than if they didn't have that financial support, just because of the inherent costs of producing the content. I think it's something people don't think about when they're consuming it, that person has gone into their pocket and is paying most of the time for something they'll never get anything back for. Yep. Really, that's tangible.
That is the good side.
I didn't realize that until we started putting this show together. And I'm like, so how much is all this going to cost? And Scar goes, and I'm like, oh, here's where we get technical.
This is where I don't want to be in the show.
Yeah.
Right.
Scar's like, well.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it's a cost. So with that person truly has to really like what they're doing to be willing to put money down for something that they won't. More than likely, they will not, unless they're a unicorn, get money back in return.
Sure. Well, let's talk about that, though, for a second, though, because what you are starting up is like most human efforts, right? It costs you something to do. It costs you time. It costs you treasure, nothing essentially. It costs you money. Nothing is free. But like most endeavors, if I started a business, I would have to invest on the front end. It would cost me to get the business going. You can't make money without spending money. But what happens is hopefully it gains some traction and you get some people, for instance, if you do start up a Patreon, you can actually eventually get to where you are making a profit. You're making more money from it. Now, hang on. You're making more money from it than you are spending money on it. Now, that's not what we're doing here in the council. I just want to be sure about that.
No, my stream
not by far.
Doesn't.
But
I spend more in makeup just to be on camera than I ever make back.
But the number of people who actually manage to do what you just said is very small.
Agreed. Right, agreed.
So more than likely, you will not be one of those people.
That's the goal, I think, of the vast majority of Twitch streamers. They start up and they're like, I'm going to make bank on this.
It's like being an actor.
Okay.
There's a lot of these jobs where people go, it's like, oh, I'm going to move to California and I'm going to become a multi-millionaire like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then 99% of those people don't.
They get terminated.
And that's why I find it laughable that somebody comes into some kid's chat room and says, well, why does he get all this attention? Because he's succeeded. You think you can do it? You're probably wrong. Quite frankly, just because he's 19 doesn't mean he isn't capable of producing something. I mean, I don't,
But
I don't know, but
you
I'm
may
also
be the
not
next,
a viewer, so.
But there was more to that whole thing, that his market is young kids who've been playing games for a really long time. And there is an aspect of luck. I mean, I think you would agree with that, especially from acting, Redna, that not everybody who is talented ends up becoming Arnold Schwarzenegger. There are lots of talented people out there who just aren't at the right time and
just don't get the break,
all those things.
I used to model, and then I left Florida, and that career dried up very, very, very quickly. So, yes, not everyone can do it. Just because you've done it a little doesn't mean it's going to succeed.
So, I mean, obviously there's always things. So I really liked that. I thought that was, that was a good point.
Well, let me be sure to throw in right here at this point. Thank goodness for YouTube and for Twitch that don't pay for, they don't, I don't want to give them ideas here, but they don't make you pay to use their services as a content producer. Because can you imagine how much, I mean, I don't think this show would exist if we had to pay any amount for hosting on YouTube. Because that's really where we're archiving
or had
all
to
these
set
shows.
up the servers in order to have the whole streaming process for people to lock into and everything. I mean, it's yeah.
Or
Yeah,
we'd have to buy some kind of, program to be able to run on it. Like you had to have
Right by
Final
software
Cut or something, or some special like Fraps. You had to have one, or whatever. Yeah, I mean that would
be way more expensive than it is already.
And I mean, there are technical issues as one of the things. Like even this, that is one of the problems that we're facing right now. We use Skype to get everybody's signal to me, which I then divvy up and then put into our frame, so that works. But as a lot of you know, Microsoft has been speaking lately about, hey, let's force everyone to go to basically version 8 of Skype, and if they do that, 8 is kind of nice if you are a casual, easygoing person who just wants to call your grandma. It's fine, but it's terrible. It's absolutely not good for us to use for something like this show. You need to have everybody's frames basically stay a predictable and usual size. So I mean,
I'll just call my grandma then.
That's there you go. But that's like one of the challenges we're having is, in addition to like, yeah, you have costs involved, but then, hey, we're using Skype for free, but there's some cost involved with that, and that is inconvenience. They force you to upgrade. You can't dictate any of the terms. Hey, if I'm going to be using your service, I'm paying for these. This is what I want from you. This is what I need you to do. So there is, I think, in some ways, some drawback to some of these.
Was there another one? The technical issues you mentioned. I thought
that's what I was going to say.
That was good.
Like tonight, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
With our poll graphics. I promise you, I took some time before the show to get those fixed, and they were good to go, and then I don't know what's going on. Oh, goodness.
Shall we move on to the discussion part?
Sure.
Yeah, I couldn't talk for a second because she was like really loud on my mic. Sorry.
Okay.
I was like, here, have a crackers.
Forgot. Okay, so now I think you three probably should speak more than I, although I'm a podcaster too, so I can chime in, but at least from a streamer's perspective, since that's you three do, plus Red as a podcaster with another one as well. Business side challenges, anybody want to jump in and highlight some challenges?
Business side challenges. So
I had to buy a webcam, I had to have a microphone, I had to have all those stuff. I had to buy a new computer. I spent over, well, I won't give the exact amount, but it was a little less than $2,000, a little more than $1,000 on a new computer. I bought a new monitor. I got a keyboard and mouse set up. Did all this stuff. Thank God, thank you, Kid Lee. He helped me figure out exactly what I needed because I was messaging on Twitter like nonstop. I'm like, what about this one? What about this one? Is this one better? Is this one better? He literally helped me figure out how to build my computer. Spent so much time and effort just because my other computer lagged so hard when I would try to like PvP and stream at the same time. It was like impossible. So I would just say it's really expensive and it's difficult and time consuming, but can be super rewarding, not even talking about monetarily.
I don't know, Randy, you want to speak to the business side of this? Because you and I know for this show, you and I share the costs. I think you're the one paying for the hosting of the podcast, the audio version of the show. And I'm the one paying for the web hosting. So between us, we kind of make it work. But yeah, there is indeed some business.
Wait, are you trying to say Elise and I are being carried? Is that what you're saying? It sounds like that's what you're saying.
Think about like even serious gamers end up feeling compelled to, like I've built my computers for years now, and because I deliberately design it in such a manner that I can, basically when a new video card comes out, I can upgrade the video card after X amount of time. Okay, I want to replace the motherboard and the CPU. X amount of time, I want a new sound card, like whatever. And part of that is because you want to be able to render the game at its highest possible quality so that then hey, if I'm going to be a streamer, suddenly I have to find a way to afford to keep my rig up enough to be able to play the game at the best in order to be able to share that content with my viewers at the highest, which is all sunk costs. And then it's like, you've got microphones and cameras, and you start getting super fancy headphones, or some, depending on the games that you've got the special mouse with the
I've had to have gone through
15
like 6
buttons,
headsets.
and
My daughter keeps breaking my headsets. I Pretty Purple one I had for a while. She broke it in half. Yeah, I just go through headsets like crazy. I forgot to mention that. Thankfully,
you should
I've had
insure that
people help me,
computer while you are at it.
well, and then some people even want to get like soundboards, because then they can put, sound effects or bumpers, that they press one key and you got this sound playing or whatever, routing things through. It's like you can start running down the rabbit hole of all of these other sunk costs, and it's all things that now, like for myself, I end up enjoying it just because I'm tech geeky enough that I want those things, not necessarily even because I need it or that I think I'm going to make money off of it, but just because I like the tech. I want to play with it. It's like I want to have the Google Home or the Amazon Alexa or those sorts of things, just to play with them, even though I know they're a complete security risk for the household, which is why I don't actually have those two items in particular. But and then which is another thing entirely too. Then you could run down the rabbit hole of how to secure or properly set things up. Like I've bought special routers for my internet just so that I can make sure that my game is getting maximum throughput, even above the stream itself, so that I can make sure that my gaming experience isn't going to get interrupted. And then I can prioritize information packets that way, and then building firewalls so that like my Wi-Fi is on a separate router, so that like you can't actually even get to my computer through the Wi-Fi access. That sort of stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy things that you can keep running down the rabbit hole. And then I guess so say not influencer, but we're just talking about streamers or content producers generally. The other big question is like, if you're partnering with a business that wants you to basically give them the free marketing, right? Like I would love to actually be bought and paid for. I would love for them to legit just give me some money in order to improve everything that I've got, to relieve the financial burden of what is effectively just a hobby for me. But then at the same time too, I also wonder sometimes, how beneficial do you actually think partnering with streamers actually is? Like, what is the financial return or the benefit that they end up getting?
There's data on that. I think they talk about it some in those articles that I linked, but they've actually sat down and done some.
Yeah, because there's so many variables there. It'd be very difficult to like really try to pin that stuff down, because the person you're streaming with, if you guys have like cross viewers or whatever, like it greatly changes. If you have none of the same audience, who's to say they're going to stay? They can stay with you for just that little bit and then never come back. Like, I think it just totally depends. Because I've partnered with people to play games that I don't normally play. Like, I don't play Star Trek Online all the time. Not that it's bad. I just don't. I'm a Star Wars person. I always have been. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But I just, like, I don't get those people that come back. The people that come back to my channel are the ones that were already there in the first place, not because I streamed a different game. So I don't think the crossover would keep people there.
I mean, they must do data analysis, just like they do any other market analysis. So because there was, in one of those articles that I linked you, they actually had like a graph of two types of marketing, and the influencer marketing had caught up with the other one.
Well, okay.
So for them to come up with that, they had to have done some.
Let me make a counterpoint. Okay. How much does it actually cost them to run an influencer, for instance, or for any game to run an influencer program? You have these people that are out there because they're passionate about the game, that are already doing the thing, and they will do it whether you have a program or not. So, hey, let's start a program. Let's give them some perks. Let's give them some cartel coin to give away to their people, right? Your product is vapor. It does not actually exist. There's nothing tangible about this. Just because somebody spends 2,500 cartel coins to buy the latest, hottest, greatest mount doesn't mean any value whatsoever has been created or exchanged hands here. So you can sugar daddy your content producers all you want. Give them stuff to give away.
Yes,
give them
go
perks.
on.
Here's the latest greatest lightsaber. Here's the latest greatest armor set. Aren't you looking great? Tell your people this is the latest stuff that's out there. But it costs you nothing to do that.
But that's just this end. When you get to the other end of it, those folks are getting paid. Like, they have business managers. They're getting paid to do that.
Yeah, some people, but it's not been my experience.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
Right,
but
I'm not one of those.
Because we're on
Zakari's like, can you please
That's
make me that
because-
lucky, please?
That's because you're on this end. We're talking about, like, Ninja is
Yeah,
getting
okay,
paid.
so let's talk about those
So-
people,
Doesn't-
because
but
those
Do you
people
see the
That
difference,
brings-
or
are a
that's what we're
marketing
talking about?
machine all
Right.
on their own,
Yeah.
though. But so
Right.
okay, those guys, if you can generate that much of an audience, then yes, absolutely leverage this person. I mean,
Like
pay
that
them to
guy
do
who
it,
wears the
sure.
glasses and the wig when he streams, like exclusively plays like the games that are super popular that everybody's playing, and he gets like what, thousands of views like at a time. Like I think one time when I was scrolling through games like looking to see who's streaming, he had like 32,000 viewers. I'm like,
But
what?
I mean,
know.
there's
At one
sponsored-
time.
There's sponsored stuff. If you guys remember, like, there's even a law now about it. The FTC came out and made a law about you have to disclose when you are a sponsored stream. Like, if you remember with the Shadow of Mordor or whatever, not that one, it was the other one, where there was that big brouhaha with Warner Brothers, who was under the table paying people to advertise their game. Streamers.
And give them good reviews, right?
Right,
And
exactly.
I think they had
They were
even
getting
not only were they
paid for
paying
that.
them, not only were they paying them, I think they were even giving them like lines that they wanted them to you know,
Yes.
pitch on, you know,
Yes.
like phrases and whatnot. This is
Yeah.
how we want it to be presented or whatever.
And in the
So that's
beauty
the dark side of
community-
this.
In the beauty community,
Yeah.
those people are getting free PR packages of all this expensive makeup. They're getting sent out to events and various things like this. We're at the
Wear our
kind of
shirt,
kiddie
right.
table down
But,
here.
but this is what happens.
It's
You look
way
at a NASCAR
The
race.
pity
Here's
table.
this dude.
We're at the little kids table. They've got us like little bumpers on our little, thing. Like we can't do anything special. We're not the elite.
I was gonna
So,
say, if you look at a NASCAR race, there's this dude. He's got your logos all over his car. You know, he does it. If he manages to get in the front, and be the leader for 3 laps, then he gets bonuses because hey, that's more advertising there. Then you do a camera interview when you're done, and he like dips his head here so you can see the logo on his whatever. I mean, this if you're gonna be bought and paid for, there is a cost. It's not just people giving you money. It costs you. You have to jump through their hoops too. But that's the darker side of this, and maybe that's part of the good side of this is the mutual benefit to it, or the
I mean, that's not necessarily the darker side. If this is what you want it to do,
Agreed.
if this is what you want your life, if this is what you want your career to be, that's what you want
Right.
to be, is right, self-sufficient.
But
So
the further you go down that rabbit hole,
So-
the more they're going
couldn't
to
be.
say, we need you to say this line. We need you to display this logo. That will happen the further you go. So,
Yeah, when you said earlier darker side, I'm like, well, it's only darker if that's not what you want. Because if that's what you want, then it's like not necessarily dark, then it's bright and cheery because that's what you wanted.
now, I think that's one of the things.
AKA a paycheck, thank you.
Yes.
Well,
Like,
that's
but
are
true.
you
then,
gonna
but then
pat
you're
my
bought and paid
pockets?
for.
I will exactly. Are you? Gonna
And
pat
now
my
I've got all
pockets?
the
I will
latest
gladly-
Razor gear for free
Yeah.
because they're sponsoring
Right.
me. Thank you very much.
Yes,
so I don't
but
have
you
to buy
but you
it.
can't
I like
say
Red
anything
Dragon
negative
coffee
about Razor.
incense.
See,
Right.
at some point,
Well, okay, so-
it's going to cost you your honesty. You will not be
That-
able
that
to be honest.
depends. That depends, first
Well,
of all,
you don't
on
have
what
to
kind
say
of agreements
it's
that you
best.
are willing to sign, right? Now, your own integrity is quite frankly your own integrity, and
It's
you
yours
can choose.
to sell.
And you,
right?
but it's also as to whether or not your viewers trust that, right? I mean, like, there are people that can refuse advertising. They can choose not to have a sponsor because they don't actually stand behind that product and they don't want to promote it. And that fine, you might be giving me $10,000 more than this other guy, but I actually like his stuff better, so I'm going to choose him as a sponsor. I mean, that's a possible thing. It depends on what you're trying to sell. If you're just selling entertainment value, right, to your viewers, then pitching things or putting links to buy items or whatever, you may not care because that's not what your product is actually about. And so you're like, hey, listen, this guy, I mean, like I could, and that doesn't have to infringe on your character or anything. It doesn't even require you to say something that you don't believe, because you could frankly flat out just make that statement. Hey, they're paying me a lot of money to tell you about their item. Here it is. This is what it does. And you don't have, and quite frankly, you could still say something bad about it too. Some people, some sponsors, some people that pay for advertisements, they say, hey, we want you to give an honest review, and good or bad, here's what we want you to do. And it's up to your viewers and the relationship you have with them to be able to prove if that's the kind of dependable person that you are. Is that a part of your brand? Is that, are you trustworthy? If you're not, then you're going to violate that, with anybody. I mean, okay, here's an example. Not Selena Williams. Who's the singer, actress, girl? Selena Gomez, right? Like,
I was thinking Selena, like the one that died forever ago. I'm like,
mad respect for not knowing.
people have been like, I have friends that really liked her, but then they stopped following her on Instagram because all she does is post, Coca-Cola and whatever. Like, she just goes with the big ticket corporate entities for her sponsorships, and she shields the line, and they're like, you know what, I don't really care, and I'm not getting anything out of what she contributes. She doesn't review it. She doesn't go and choose and streamline, as say we were not
That's
just a
silly.
SWTOR podcast, but we were an MMO podcast, right? And we choose to promote, we play every MMO and we choose to promote certain MMOs, and we're not being sponsored, but we have to build a trust with the people that view us to that when we say, I'm not being paid to say this, they have to be able to trust that. And if they don't,
well, the goal is if you can get someone who you love to sponsor you, then you never have to worry about lying because you're singing their praises already anyways. Like, I got three people that one day, if I ever, suddenly had an audience that cared more than 10 people at a time, then I would be all like, hey, you people, you want to give me some attention, and I'll sing your praises publicly and not just privately on my private messages. My Discord is full of one of them all the time.
I think also it's kind of important, just from a streaming, even though I'm not a streamer, but just looking at the trials and tribulations of people that I've followed and talking to streamers, that I think you need to decide before you start from a business perspective what kind of a streamer that you're going to be. I really do think being like an influencer or being sponsored, if you are like a single, for example, in this instance, game, you are going to be a single game focus, then it's actually, I think it would be very beneficial. If you're a single SWTOR thing, then being able to be an influencer and getting all that stuff would be beneficial to you. But we've seen people try and jump from one game to another game, and they lose chunks of their audience moving from one game to another because they built their audience and they built their community on this one game, and the community didn't want to follow them to a new game because they were there for the game.
Wasn't this one guy losing a couple hundred subs because he didn't stream for one day? He went to E3 or something like that, and he lost several hundred subs or something like that, or it was drastic because he didn't stream for 1 or 2 days. And I was like, I'm not going to be that committed person ever. I just can't. There's days I wake up and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to stream today. And then my kids, all hell breaks loose and everything's all over the place. And I'm trying to clean everything and do cooking and stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm not streaming today. In fact, that day was yesterday.
Look at what Snicker says in chat. Ninja lost 100,000 subs from 5 days of not streaming. Imagine you get to that stage where you can't take a day off because it's a day is 20,000 subs you don't get.
Yep, all these kids who want to be Twitch streamers like Ninja, that's the side they don't see. that with the work-life balance of what they're talking about.
You don't
Like,
really
if
have a
you-
life then. You're in front of the camera nonstop. How do you have time to have a life or be social? Like that one over there. Like I'm watching her this whole time and she's playing with something that at any other time I wouldn't let her play with. It's not dangerous. It's just that's not a toy. And so I'm like watching her right here, being like, the second she moves, I have to get up. Like how I couldn't stream all day long. How do these people have a life? Because I can't. Like I want to. I'd like to stream more. I used to stream like 4 or 5 times a week, and now I just can't. I'm like, how do you guys do it and have a life? That's what I want to know.
I'll tell you what, I got, everybody starts, you have this kind of wide-eyed vision. Hey, I may be able to turn this into something. So you're kind of experimenting with that idea as you get started, and there's nothing wrong with that. Kind of figure it out. And Twitch helps you along. Hey, here's an affiliate status. Isn't this nice? Now you can get subs. So they want to move you along because obviously, more viewers is more money for them. So they're using you as well. Hey, there's an old adage, it's an adage out there that says, if it's for free, you are the product. So, and that's essentially what's going on here. And that's okay. But I think what happened for me is at one point I sat back and thought to myself, I'm just going to let this go. I don't want to make money doing this. I'm just here for having fun with friends. And Redna, I know that's what you do as well. And actually, Magic, same thing for you. All of us, because I'll tune into what you guys are doing just to see what you got going on. And it's just a social thing, and we're hanging out with friends. And I think that when you embrace content producing for the love of it, as opposed to for the money aspect, it frees so much of who you are to be who you are, to be or to have your most authentic product. So I do want to throw a word out for that. If you are ever considering getting into it, do it because you love it, not because you want to, because you will get lost in a hurry trying to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the whole premise that this is like, and that's why I never did it, because I understand that there are these people that do have these hundreds of thousands of viewers and whatever, and they've made a job out of it, and they're working the 40+ hours a week. Right.
Millions.
Yeah, PewDiePie made like 7 mil 1 year.
I know, and and look at him. He's a vile, horrible human being. Like, he's not somebody that I aspire to be. That is not what I want to
Jeff
become.
Valiant makes enough to have been able to buy himself a really nice house and have a 4th kid. So, and he is not horrible. So, yes, keep going.
Yes, no, and I understand that, but to get into it, it's something to do. You do it because you have fun at it, right? But honestly, I don't even think now this is just me, my personality. Playing games 8 hours a day doesn't particularly sound fun. Playing video games that many hours
it would kill my love for it.
My Discord shows that I'm playing games for that long, but I'm not. Like, I get to play for like an hour and I have to get up and go do stuff. Yeah, I'm like, I've got the game running, but I'm not playing. Like, I've been off the computer for hours, and someone's like, well, if you weren't up at 3 a.m. And I was like, I wasn't up at 3 a.m. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I put my kid to bed and passed out. Like, I was asleep and my computer was on. And they're like, oh, well, then why are you tired? I'm like, because I have kids. I was up at 5:30. What do you mean? Why am I tired? That's just the life. That's the life. It looks like I'm playing and having a good time, but unless you actually see my tune logged into SWTOR, it's not doing that.
And I'll confess, that's the majority of my SWTOR experience these days as well. It's like I'm logged in and I'm standing on fleet, but I'm AFK running around the house trying to get something accomplished real quick, Then I come back and I do something and maybe run a flashpoint, and then I'm AFK for a few minutes.
Well, that's an interesting thing too, like becoming an influencer or whatever. Like, at some point, I would feel, I imagine I'd feel kind of guilty, or at least compelled to play SWTOR more and stream it more.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go and play other games that I enjoy. Like, and that doesn't sound fun either. Like, I want to play what I want to play when I want to play it. Yeah. Thank you very much.
I mean, we've seen content creators that have gone and said that they were done, and then come back like a month or 2 later. Like, you've got to wonder how or why did that happen?
Not just content creators.
Well, I'm just talking about the ones that I know about. Like, I've seen them on Twitch going, okay, I let my sub run out, I'm done. And then a month later, they're like, hey, I couldn't stay away. And, you got to wonder.
All that hype for nothing.
And it kind of makes me wonder
I want to join
alcoholics,
your
because
stuff.
that's why I come back all the time.
You can tell if someone's not willing to give away their stuff, they're going to be bad. Just gonna throw that out there.
If someone cleans out all the money and they give you all their stuff and they're like, here, I've got, a few billion credits. You can have this. I'll put this here, put this over here. Then you're like, oh, they're not coming back.
You're done. Absolutely.
You're done. Yeah.
All right, guys, we do need to start wrapping up the show. This has been kind of a lively one, which is always awesome. Just a couple of announcements I want to make sure are out there. Number one, BioWare made the announcement that the New York Cantina is canceled. This is in response to the shooting that was at the Madden 19 thing in Jacksonville. EA has...
Are you serious?
Yeah. EA has decided that for their events, they're going to get some security protocols in place and are actually working actively to do that. And because of that, they have put the Cantina on hold, get that stuff figured out, and then they will move forward once those things are in place. Which I think that's fantastic. Good for BioWare, good for you. So we can do a whole episode on that.
This reminds me of that Boston Cantina that was canceled 4 weeks in advance because of potential for snow.
Right.
Like,
we need some protocols in place. Right.
Like,
I gotta tell you though,
It's not like you could ever move it somewhere else.
I was there last year, and not once did I ever feel unsafe. But
yeah, well, but you never know. I mean, you want to have something in place for that one crazy person that does what happened at Madden 19. So I'm for them having that. Good for it. What BioWare is gonna do instead of having the Cantina is a live stream, of course, sometime in October, twitch.tv/SWTOR. So stay tuned to the SWTOR website. To hear more about that. Another announcement I just want to kind of put out there. One of the things I'm going to try to work on for our patrons is a behind-the-scenes look at the show. I'll probably do it in kind of like a two-part episode thing. One is going to be about show prep, how we come up with content, what our process is. I'll do some kind of a video on that. And then the next one.
Do we want to tell that? I don't think we should.
No, I'm going to explain how it works. I'm not going to share.
Because I'm like, how much are you going to put on there?
I'm not going to share what is said.
Don't do that. I oppose that show. I do not want to do that episode.
I promise that all of your
Hey, I want to watch that episode. What are you talking about?
No.
Yes,
I want to
protest. This is a good exclusive. When the cast is getting nervous about it, it's going to be good content. So there you go. Another thing is that I'll do one on like the graphics, how I built the graphics, how we, put all of the look of the show together. Just a little something to.
I think that's more than enough. I think, right?
Oh yeah, that's what I thought you'd say. Anyway, it's going to be fun telling all our secrets. So, over to you, Magic.
I wonder if she's thankful.
Well, I was going to say thank you to everybody, but now I don't know if you guys are coming back for the next episode. Maybe not. I'm just kidding. No, thank you so much, everybody, for showing up. We appreciate it. Magic Baby appreciates it the whole time behind the scenes. Every time I mute my mic, she's been yakking. Thank you so much for everybody who was in our chat, who participated, and who actually had great feedback. We enjoy this kind of stuff. Thank you for our lurkers. And I just saw that I got a follow from someone who's in the chat. Thank you so much. We'd also... Magic Baby also wants to say thank you for waving at her. She loves it. We really appreciate you guys. We also want to say thank you so much to our Patreons. It's been awesome every single time. You all are great. And thank you for the people who download our podcast. The number is fabulous, and it is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Agreed.
And that brings us to the end of the episode. The council is adjourned. If you'd like to reach us, you can email us at thecouncil@thecouncilswotor.com. Like our Facebook page at facebook.com/thecouncilswotor. You can find Elise on Twitter at abrown35. I don't know why the 35 is brown, but hers is. Magic Ace at the Magic Ace, me at R3DN4, and Sakari at I am Sakari. Also, don't forget our Patreon page at patreon.com/thecouncilswotor, where patrons can catch the articles we're talking about behind the scenes and exclusive backstage access to our after show chat. That's it for this week, guys. The only thing you need to learn to do is do what I say it.
I understand.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
What? How can you do this? This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master?
Take a seat, young Skywalker.
Forgive me, Master.